Hello, everybody, and welcome to our another monthly installment of our Tribe TV special broadcast with Roxy Lopez. Today, Roxy and myself are going to be discussing several important issues that mean a lot to all of us, especially here in the United States. We're going to be covering topics dealing with CISPA as well as what we call the House of Cards. There is a new series out on Netflix called House of Cards, and for those of you that haven't seen it, it deals with what goes on day to day, moment to moment, in the mind of politicians and those in power. And this will overlap into all of those people in places of power throughout the world. There is a different mentality, there is a different way of doing things, and we're going to be sharing some of our observations and some of our research that we've done over the last several weeks on this particular topic. So, without further ado, let's bring Roxy Lopez into the mix here. Hello, Roxy.
Hi, Bernard. Thanks. Aloha, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And, this is going to be a really interesting topic, so let's dive in.
Yes, absolutely. Let me fix your camera here. I have like the whole page open up here. Here we go. Roxy is joining us live on Skype from Arizona. And I'm joining you live from Roanoke, Virginia. Oops, what did I do to you? There you go. There we go. Anyway. We last month Miriam was keeping
Bernard.
last month Miriam was keeping your seat warm, so I want to welcome you back to Tribe TV this month. And we're very, very happy to have you back. We missed you last month very, very much. Even though I got to say, Miriam rocked the house with that. So.
Miriam did, and what a perfect. I thank you both for doing that. I, as you know, had an emergency, and so I couldn't make the show, and I was so bummed out because I really wanted to, talk on the subject. But thank you, Miriam Delicato, for filling in and doing an excellent job. Couldn't have been replaced by a better person. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
For sure. And so, Roxy, let's talk a little bit about this whole concept of House of Cards. And, I love the way that Netflix chose that particular term because they build up such weak power structures that any one little blow just collapses the entire quote-unquote House of Cards. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what your observations are on what's happening in these places of power?
Okay, well, I just want everybody to know that when I first started discussing this topic with Bernard, because we do talk about the shows and do a lot of research on the shows, believe it or not, this isn't as candid as you might like it to be, but in order to make the shows efficient and get the points across. And Bernard really saw through to one word that is so important. And the minute you said it to me, Bernard, I was like, oh my God, you're right. And the word is strategy. That's the word. So in relationship to what is going on behind the Iron Curtain of politicalness, if you will, the show House of Cards, which is on Netflix, and I think they did an extra great job on it. I mean, it just gives you an insider view, what goes on behind those closed doors that we do not have. So what I did is I put together an analogy that I think that everyone can relate to. Casinos and government, including the stock market, the media, corporations, all have these things in common. Okay, so number one, they all have house rules that the general public is not privy to. Number two, they all have private clubs that don't include the public, including would be good examples would be like, the Bohemian Grove, Fortune 500 companies, Bilderberg Group, Vatican, ruling elites across the world, presidents, dictators, Freemasonry. That's what I'm talking about. Private clubs that you and I are not invited to. These are the ruling elites now. Government. Three, they have little transparency as to their strategy. Four, an illusion created just for the public. Five, marketing and ownership of the media. They use payola, which is money. It's a source of how they keep the media in their back pocket. And they use the media to create that illusion for the public. Number 6, private fundraisers amongst the elite. So they have private fundraisers amongst themselves, like even when they're running in the USA for Congress or the Senate or what have you. They have private, for private fundraisers. 7, they have insider trading and memos. Again, we're talking about our government. 8, they are ruthless, egocentric, and maniacal individuals that will turn even on themselves if need be, including acts of murder, firing of jobs, cutthroat tactics of disloyalty, espionage, secrecy, blackmail, creating relationships that are only based and used as part of their agenda, not based on morality whatsoever. Throwing colleagues under the bus to deflect from their own wrongdoings. That's a big one when you see campaigns. Purchasing with dollars. Purchasing loyalty to further their own career, etc. And number 9, outright lying to the public and making promises they never intend to keep, but rather part of a bigger strategy. And with the casino, if I may, I want to paint a little picture, and then Bernard, you're going to further that.
Yeah.
With a casino, to paint the picture of how, again, the government works, the stock market, media, corporations, etc., or the ruling elite. You walk into a casino, all right? Now there's the floor. You can play, a number of games or pull tabs or what have you. You walk up to a table. Let's say you're going to play 21. The house is loaded. House rules. You can't put your hands on the table, blah, 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 what have you. That dealer has been taught. If you look up, there are cameras all around you. There's transparency to you. And there's a psychology to it as well. That dealer is trained in the psychology to see how you react to certain things. You put a bunch of money on the table, you bet on black, number 3, let's say, and you win. That's purposeful. You might not win the next one, but then you win again. And now the table's getting interesting and people are starting to come by and drop down some dough because they see you winning. That's all part of the strategy, by the way. And then it goes on and on if you know anything. Eventually what happens to that person that's winning over and over again is then they get to a certain place and they start losing. And slowly the house takes back the money that you won as the customer, and then it goes the other way where now you owe. That's just one example of how a casino and the psychology behind it work. Number 2, let's say you go to a nickel, quarter, dollar machine. Another strategy is in place there. It learns the psychology of the person who is playing that machine. One of the ways they do it is they invite you to get a card so that you can win, the more you play, you win like free lunch or free dinner at the buffet or what have you. Now, getting that card, you put the card in and that card starts to get to know you. It watches every way in which you gamble. So in other words, you put a quarter in and you don't win anything. Put another quarter in and now you're $20 in quarters in, you haven't won anything, but now you win like $50. So you double down and triple down. It learns your psychology, and eventually you bring that card in all the time. You will lose and lose and lose again because it learned how you trade, how you gamble, and it knows what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. That's the house. Now, here's the elite part of the house in a casino. You see this mostly in Vegas. You walk into the ground floor and there's all the mayhem and music and oxygen being pumped in so you can stay, no clocks. You never know what time it is. It creates this illusion and most people become obsessed with being in that casino and winning and this and that. And you'll have a number of thoughts that go through your mind. When somebody next to you keeps winning, you start saying to yourself, well, I'm going to have to win too. I know I'm going to win. I know I'm going to win. Again, cameras are on you, watching your every move, watching you go and get more money out from the machine, from the ATMs and things like that. Everybody is watching everything that you are doing at all times. Now, you will notice that there will be these rooms off to the side where you can still view what's happening. Big card tables with big velvet red ropes with with hooks, and they get let in and out of these areas, right? That is the elite. Those are the people that have a lot of money, and they're not playing the game that you're playing out in the house.
Right. The high rollers.
The high rollers, whatever you want to call them. Actually, most of them are on that table because they're meeting other elites. So it's just the pastime of somebody who's got a few million in the bank to spend today. And you'll see telephones every now and then when someone's got a really big bet and a telephone. This is a show of power amongst the elites. And of course, all the little people, you and I, that walk into the casino, sometimes maybe we'll sit down and have a cup of coffee and sort of just watch what's going on over there. And even though it's out in the open, you and I are not privy to what's going on at that table. Mm-hmm. And that would be the upper echelons of the government. So there's the part of the government, like going into a city council. We're allowed to go into a city council, hearing or what have you, and see a little bit about what's going on, or see our representatives, maybe even go and meet the mayor. And Bernard's going to talk about some of that he experienced in Florida. Mm-hmm. And I can talk about a little bit that I experienced in Arizona. But as a member, whatever you are, like for instance, for 4 years, I was a chairman of a board. But in all honesty, if the mayor didn't want me to do something, he didn't even tell me he didn't want me to do it. He sent somebody else into that meeting to whisper to me to let me know that wasn't going to happen. He didn't even have the respect to return my calls or emails. If he didn't want to talk about something, he just ignored me completely. All right. So why do you make me a chairman of the board? By the way, I was begged into that position by our local government, just as I've been begged to come into a position of being one of the city council members many times. And I've been asked to run for Congress. But here's the game. As much as I have been involved in local government for the past 20 years, I have no idea what goes on behind those closed doors. And I've been a part of meetings with our city attorneys, our mayor sitting right there, called a meeting in the conference room at the mayor's office to discuss something with the city manager, city attorney, and the mayor. And it's very uncomfortable. I'm talking just like I'm talking to you right now. And they get very empowered when I'm asking for something that I need for the city to look at. They start to smile. They start to say things like, they'll get right on that. Mm-hmm. And then eventually what happened, I ruined my relationship with those individuals who came to my home as well and talked with groups of people that I invited to my home. And I'll tell you why. Because I kept at them and I kept calling and I kept showing up. And I don't mean every day, people. I mean once a month. I'm not stupid. But eventually they have all not only stopped taking my calls, but when we go to the award ceremony every year that we go to, they run from me. They see me coming when they used to walk up to me, shake my hands. See, I wasn't part of their little group. That's what happened. They started to see that I was trouble. They started to see that I wasn't going to raise them up and make them all look good, that I was really looking after the people in my own community, and they don't like that. And that's me not playing ball. So why should I run for Congress? Why should I run for the city council? As a matter of fact, they didn't even want me to run for city council. They wanted to slip me into a city council position. But what they would have done is they would have exiled me anyway.
Yeah.
I did resign my seat as chairman of the board. I want you to know that I did that on my own, but it wasn't. It was because for one whole year, as chairman of the board, in my own committee meetings, no one even looked me in the eye anymore. I just thought, what am I doing? I'm spinning my wheels. So there is that aspect. And Bernard, you have some stuff to share too
Oh
that's
boy.
really interesting. So yeah, tell it.
I could really well
You can
this is
relate to what I'm saying, right?
this is the broadcast that I've been waiting 6 years to do, if not more. As many of you know, I used to be a part of the business community in South Florida. I was an ambassador for the City of Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, and I got to know all the people in power. As a matter of fact, even though I was, middle class income, I was treated with the respect of those in power and was given a lot of power in our community. I was able to, for lack of a better term, and of course I'm a very different person today, but back in those days I was a power player and I would help to close businesses that we wanted out of the neighborhood. I would help to create businesses that were needed in the neighborhood or that we wanted to be a part of our business community. Um, I got to see a lot of those backroom deals. I got to see a lot of those backroom parties. As a matter of fact, just to give you some clarity of what really goes on behind the scenes, I was involved, as I said, I was involved as a ambassador for the City of Hollywood Chamber of Commerce in Florida, not Hollywood, California. For those of you that don't know, Hollywood is right between Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and it's basically one little village in this big metropolis. But anyway, what had happened is over the years, I began to know who were the movers and the shakers, who were the ones that had control, who had the ability to grant me, give me better job positions, or make me more popular and make me have more influence. And I'll tell you right now that even though I will say that some of them were probably very, very good friends of mine at the time, when I decided that I was going to start speaking out and speaking up for the people, the same thing happened to me that happened to Roxy. Everyone turned their back on me. All of a sudden, the city commissioners that were on my side, the people in places of power that were on my side, didn't want to know who I am, didn't want to know what I was talking about. And there was even talk throughout their inner circles that I was going to expose all of them because I used to be a party animal and I partied with the best of them. And we're talking real hard illegal partying, doing lots of illegal things, Vegas style, with lots of people in places of power. And I remember getting this email, oh my God, Bernard, please don't expose us. You'll destroy the city, you'll do this, you'll do that. And I'm sure it's still going on to a certain extent. Drugs being sold at bars and restaurants, things like that. Drugs being used in the police department, their little club that they have. The Hollywood Police Department used to be known for their corruption. That there was this like inner brotherhood, so to speak, and they did their little things to hurt each other and to hurt the public in order to become a part of this club, a hazing, so to speak. But to say that there are two different worlds, yes, absolutely. I've seen it. I have seen it. To say that the voter has any type of influence is a joke because I have been in meetings. I've heard when they start developing policy. And quite honestly, anyone who thinks that policy is created at the voting booth is very sadly mistaken. You know where the policy is created? At all those awards dinners. Seen it 100 times. All the private functions, the fundraisers, the galas. I used to have a social calendar so full of galas, fundraisers, awards dinners, with mayors, senators, congressmen, representatives, never governor. I met and got to know, not very well, but I got to know the head of the Democratic Party now, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, is from Hollywood, Florida. She was in my circle. We never became friendly, but we were rubbing elbows with the same people. So to think that your influence is being done at the voting booth is really a very big mistake to think that, because they will figure out a way to manipulate you to vote the way that they want you to. They will figure out a way to make that other person who's running look bad. And as Roxy said, The moment you start speaking up for the little people as someone in a place of power, they will turn their back on you, and you will be removed from that circle of power. So take it from someone who's been a part of it. I've seen it in Miami. I grew up in Miami. I saw it in Hollywood, Florida. And quite honestly, I'm learning what's happening here in Roanoke, Virginia. And I'll tell you right now, in Roanoke, Virginia, they're very proud of their democratic control. I mean, we're a blue county and basically a redneck state. But let me tell you something, the Democrats run everything, everything. And God forbid an independent or someone who did not follow the party line tried to grab a bit of that power. Even our local Occupy Roanoke has now become a spokesperson for the Democratic Party line. One of the reasons why I left several months ago. I cannot stand for that, where we have to literally compromise our beliefs and compromise our integrity in order to play with the big boys. I don't do it. I will not do it. But I think that this is what Roxy was talking about, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. So, please be aware, know the truth that Roxy and myself have been on the other side of the table, the other side of the velvet rope. Heck, I used to run parties where I would pick who was coming in and out of the party. I was the door guy, and it was my party. So I know that feeling. I know that rush you get when you're the one in control, and you're like, no, I don't want her in. No, don't let her in. And not only that, that's only symbolic of the mentality of what goes on behind closed doors. What I'm saying about the velvet rope and being the guy at the door and saying, oh yeah, that's my friend, let them in. No, she's too fat, don't let her in. That mentality extends into the offices of power, whether it be locally, nationally, or internationally. So remember that we are dealing with a certain mentality, and I think that's the point we're going to try to get across today. It's a certain mentality that drives people to have this feeling of power. It's almost masochistic or sadist, I should say. Well, both actually. But anyway, Roxy, speaking of these ideas of power, what do you think about? What are your comments on what I just shared?
Well, absolutely agree. I think that it's egocentric. I think there are many who, for instance, even in the music industry, when I was signed to big labels, people treated me different. I didn't pay for dinners. I didn't pay to get into a club. I was welcomed. It's a completely different experience. But that record company needs you for a lot of things too. And if you don't play their game, you find yourself without a record deal all over again. It's all the same. So the egocentric is what I think and have felt and have known the difference, in other words, that why I didn't climb my ladder of success inside government or am not pursuing it. I'm of a perfect age to pursue being in Congress here. It's a perfect age for me to address a lot of issues in Congress. And I can get along with a lot of people as well if I wanted to. But there's an ego to it. And you catch the fever. And once you catch that fever, you become part of their club. And that would be the case. And before you know it, you're not a we the people anymore. Nope. You're them. And absolutely. At different levels and different stages, even in small communities like my own, there is so much ego in even the communities of volunteers. There's an ego in it. And people actually join our committees just so they can say they're a part of the committee, and then they never show up and they don't vote. And then, and then people like myself, who was the chairman, and our co-chairman have to, we carry all the other members because they just want to, on their business card or what have you, or on their resume, they want to put that they belonged to that committee in the city, like it's a badge or something. Yeah. So it's really interesting. And inside of the government, it's about money. It's about business. It's business, and it's making deals on behalf of themselves and getting themselves further, or money, or like I said, payola, or making sure certain things, ego, a certain bill that the Congress or House wants written up on behalf of a senator, let's say. It's all ego. It's like, write this up. And half of the time, all the way to the top, the president doesn't even read it, doesn't even know what he just signed. And it's almost a joke. And then as far as the psychopath aspect of it, I think that it's a sickness. And I see this everywhere. I've seen it in all walks of life, and I've seen it definitely in the music industry where I spent most of my life. And I see it in government now. Different areas of government is just becoming so prevalent and so transparent, if you will, that the good old boys network, whatever you want to call it, full of men and women, I feel, have a disconnect with the public.
Huge.
All right? A disconnect. It's almost as though they've stuffed their emotions so far down, and that they're not one of we the people anymore. They can't relate. They're not seeing it. Here's a good way of saying it. Like if you're living somewhere and someone calls you up and says, hey, I live an hour north of you. Just come up, the 5 or the 10 or whatever, and meet me at da da da. And let's say you're new to the area, you don't even know what they're talking about. Well, what makes it easier is, even if you see street names, like they send you, get on this highway and then get on the freeway and then make a right and a left and a right and a left. I'll tell you what solves it. Get in a little plane and fly there. And which I've done many times, because I know people have small planes. And once I see the aerial view, and of course we can go on Google Map and whatever, but once you see the aerial view of your surroundings and where you're going, it's the proverbial bigger picture. Mm-hmm. But it really is. You see and you go, oh, that's where Phoenix is in relationship to, Chandler, and that's where Tempe. All of a sudden you're above it and you can see it all, and it's so different than what it is in your head. It really is. That is what I think Bernard and I are trying to convey. What goes on in the government, all right, is not what you and I think. They paint an illusion in commercials and on whatever, even in debates when they're running and all the rest of it. It's all in our head in a certain way. And you can read all the literature you want and all the books that you want, but until you're in there, you have no clue. You really don't. Until you're in, and I don't mean just in the Capitol, in the building, which I've been inside of, and in their offices, and sat in that's not even it. That's just a building where when you're in the club, and the talk that goes on, and the strategy that goes on. You're now a part of a strategy, and I am going to tell you something. That strategy, hands down, I'm going to tell you, just like a casino who needs to win, who needs to bring home the dough every single day, minute, hour that casino is open, it needs to always be winning.
Yep.
All right? That is how our government is. It needs to be in check at all times. So this calamity and nonsense that is going on with the deficit and all this the cliff that we're on, the financial cliff.
Well, now we have a sequester.
A sequester. All these new names. The bottom line, I don't know if any of you know how money operates in the government, but it's real easy. It goes like this. You're a carpenter. You come to my house and you fix my kitchen cabinet. And what do you hand me? You hand me a bill. And you say to me, as arranged on the telephone, you can pay the bill over 90 days, whatever way you want to pay it. And you get it, and they give me a bill. And I say, thank you for doing the work, and they leave. That is exactly how the government works. What happens every year is the government, to make it really simple, gives the president the bill for the coming year. The bill. But really, the work is already being done because all of government employees are still employed. They're all getting their salaries. So really, it's a bill, and it's called an appropriation. What happens is a bill, and then the government has to appropriate that money. Right? So there's no money exchanging hands right at that moment at all. Basically, it's a bill for what's coming, a bill for what hasn't been paid, and the president, so to speak, or the committee has to appropriate the funds prior to its use. Kind of like how the guy came and fixed my cabinet prior to me giving him the money. And then he said, you can have 90 days to pay it back. Well, that's what all this talk is all about, where they set up, the government's going to set up where we collect X amount of taxes for 10 years, pay X amount of money over 10 years. It's hogwash. It's nonsense. It's all garbage. It's none of it's real, is what I'm saying. Trillions of dollars in deficit only means is that they are operating on thin air and have been forever. And so it's all just hogwash, and it's a means and a way. I'm sorry, I'm getting really passionate here. I don't like people getting into my pocketbook, but it's a means and a way to get more money out of you and I, taxes, small business, you name it. It's just an illusion. It's all an illusion. Even the president saying that tax cuts, BS. Do you know what a tax cut is? A tax cut is falling into that appropriation category. The more he cuts taxes, the more they're going to take from us. Mm-hmm. It's you know what I'm talking about, right, Bernard?
Oh God, yeah.
And
well, they take from one, and they may give on one hand and take from the other. That's what happens.
The public is so unaware of this behavior. And the other thing about this is the public, I'm an activist, you're an activist, Bernard. A lot of you listening and watching today are activists. Let me tell you something. The last place I'm going to go, and people hammer me on this day and night, stop. I'm not going to the government to fight chemtrails. I'm not going to the government to fight fluoride in the water. I'm not going to the government to fire the Federal Reserve, the Rothschilds, and all the rest of them, the Morgans, and all those privateers that own the banking institutions. I'm not going to the government. The government is those entities.
Exactly.
The government is the enemy in that regard.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, call me tyrannical against my government. I'm sorry, it is my patriotic right, and duty to stand up against tyranny in my government. Okay? It is my right, and it is my honor, and it is my privilege, and it is my patriotic duty, for crying out loud.
Absolutely. Dissent is a... And I believe we're back. Yes, we're back. Hello, everybody. Thank you for sticking around and keeping an eye out for us. I do want to take this opportunity, though, to say and continue the conversation that Roxy is talking about. Some of the things, one of the most important things that I notice, and this goes back to the whole idea that there is a different mentality. One of the most important things we need to understand is that anyone in a place of power, whether it be a politician, whether it be a corporate leader or a business owner that's, a mogul, I should say, not a small business, yay, small business. However, most people in that regard, in the bigger scale of things, and those wanting to, concentrate their power, the only thing they're interested in is what's in it for me. And I noticed that even during my time in the bigger corporate world, That was one of the most important things they kept telling us. Give them a whiffum. Do you know what a whiffum is? What's in it for me? Everyone wants a whiffum, but you know what? The reality of it is that all the favors that you get, all the little free trials, all the little free coupons, that's only to enhance you, just like a drug dealer gives you a little doobie or a little bag of Coke to get you to sample it. It's just to give you a little something so that you want more because they want what you have, which is your money or your time or whatnot. When I was, again, when I was a part of the, for lack of a better term, the elites of Hollywood, Florida, I was given free drinks at almost every bar I went to, free meals at every restaurant, and we're talking nice upscale restaurants. And the reason why they were giving me free stuff is because they knew I would come with a handful of people. And because of the fact that I was so popular, you see this done on a larger scale in Los Angeles with like the Paris Hiltons and whatnot. They know they're going to bring people with them. All it's going to do is it's going to up their reputation. So it's not even out of the kindness of their heart. And then people like myself are like, oh, wow, I'm getting free stuff. I'm so cool. And I keep doing it and not understanding the integrity behind it, that there is none. They don't care about me. They care about the money I can bring in or the exposure I can give them. And that doesn't only happen in business. It happens, of course, in places of power, in places of government. And unfortunately, it happens across the screen when it comes to most larger businesses. And I mean, it's okay to do a favor for another person. I agree that, you know, we all want to help each other. I think that's very important. But I don't see that happening in places like Washington, London, the Vatican, or whatnot. What is your experience with that, Roxy? What do you think?
Well, you know, you're reminding me, first of all, you just said something that's really important. There is an absolute difference from favoritism and being of service. For instance, the relationship I have with the GIC and yourself. Mm-hmm. We operate in unison and harmony, even when we're disagreeing, like, oh, no, it's got to be this way or that way or blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. We come to the place of, okay, let's do this. We debate lovingly and kindly. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not like we're just like holier than thou with each other or anybody else for that matter. There's no hidden agenda with you and I. And then we work things out and we get ideas and we brainstorm and we execute. Mm-hmm. And we assist one another. And when we need one another for something, whether it be personal, business, whatever it is, we can trust and go to one another and know that, you know, I'm a media site, you know, that I'm not going to take what you just told me in privacy and just run a story on it up a flagpole. All right. And that is the difference between being of service to one anher, even outside of the GIC or the truth denied, what have you, being of service, or favoritism. Favoritism is, I think it's a slippery slope. Yeah. Because once you start to favorite someone for whatever reasons, it eventually turns into something that's not very good. And it's like this guy that wanted me to advertise his seaweed on my website, and he was throwing big money at me, to do it. And the minute he started just saying, look, I just want 2 ads and whatever you want. You want $1,000 a month? What do you want? I said, hey, you know what? I can't do this because you're asking for the prime spots in your ads, and I haven't done enough research on you to find out if this is real or good or bad. And I don't just help one person. I help a lot of people. So I can't just have you be the star of the show on my website. And he just couldn't even wrap his mind around it. He's involved in multi-marketing. He's huge. He's on huge infomercials. He's here locally in Phoenix. He wanted me. I knew that once I went to, you know, he invited me to lunch, dinner, whatever, wanted to go, wanted to take photos of me, maybe even be on an infomercial with him. Oh, he was telling me the truth. All right. He was newly divorced. What does that say? You know, so his agenda was getting really transparent. He didn't have any regard that I was married or not. He was hitting on me. And, like I said, throwing money at me. Now, if I would have gotten involved and driven up to Phoenix and had lunch with them, I could have been the seaweed lady right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so obvious. And no, that's not lucky, people. Don't women out there, I'm picking your vibe up. Don't be thinking, oh, you're so lucky. That isn't luck. That's not lucky. That's terrible. They want to use me. On. That's right. They prey on me. I've been preyed on all my life. Now, just like, let's not get into that. I'm no victim. I'm no victim. I'm educated and I'm strong because of it. And what didn't kill me, I'm still around. I learned a lot. So, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. And that's why I've taken a stance. When they asked me to run for Congress 2 different times here in the state of Arizona, I got to tell you, and this is what dissension is all about. Dissension in the movement when we educate people. It was 2 people in the movement, 2 pretty big people in the movement who came to me personally, came here, flew here to talk to me to be in Congress. Mm-hmm. They wanted to use me, and what they did is, let's say I spent, a whole year campaigning to be in Congress. I knew at that point, and I told Bernard this, I'd have to drop all my activism.
Yeah.
I didn't want to drop my activism. And I knew it would compromise it. And then maybe I'd have to really not even be able to have the platform and get restricted vocally, and on and on and on and on. I wasn't afraid of running for Congress. It would let me in some of the arenas. But as soon as they figure out I'm for the people, as soon as they figure out I'm for the Native Americans here in the U.S., in Arizona state, which is the largest population of Native Americans in the whole United States, is in Arizona, and I was going to represent District 1, which is the Native American district. Okay, what were they setting me up for?
Yeah.
What were they setting me up for? So, the other thing about what you were talking about is, we made a list of all that these government, stock market, casino mentality have in common. We can use the same, but the flip side. In other words, there's, you have a crucifix right side up, it's positive, turn it upside down, it's not, just like the Star of David, inverted, it's evil, right side up. Symbols, ancient symbols are inverted.
Or technology, for that matter.
Technology, evil, use it for good, use it for evil. You can take all of this strategy and use it for good.
I agree.
The thing is that if we're on a mission, and you're an activist, whether it be fluoride in the water, chemtrails, whatever, GMOs, the government's not going to help us. I don't care what anybody says. The government's not going to help us. They are the people who have set up the system that goes against us. They are the ones that are tyrannical. We might get a little bone here and there, but really the big picture, it's too slow. They're fast. They're moving like a bullet train. Yep. You know it. I know it, Bernard. If we're going to make changes, we have to unify as a people. We have to unify as a people and stop playing the game. Don't waste your energy.
Thank you for that,
man.
Let me jump in here and just say a couple of points that I was meaning to say when you were talking earlier about activism, and that's a very, very good point. I want to ask everybody out there. We've seen a lot of protests going on over the last couple of years around the world. We have seen big rallies, lots of demonstrations. What has changed? What has changed? Are they listening? Do they listen? Do they go look outside their window and say, oh my, the people are upset, we need to do something? No. They either shut it down or they let it go on and let you tire yourself out, and they continue with business as usual. We have not seen many. Now, granted, we've had 1 or 2 where things have been stalled, and a very good example, which we were going to talk about today, we might not have enough time, is CISPA. Now, last year, we did shut down CISPA. Well, guess what? The day of the inauguration, Obama brought it back. A different version, however, it still deals with taking all of our information and giving it to the military. behind our back. Now, they said they're not going to look through it. They said they're not going to, no judge is going to read through they're only looking for information related to, espionage or terrorism or whatnot. But you know what? It's still behind our back, and it still goes to show you all the work that people like, rest his soul, Aaron Swartz did. They don't care. They just don't care. You can protest till you're red in the face. You can go march on Washington. You can march in the streets of Portland, L.A., New York City, Madrid. Look at Egypt, what happened. They took down the government and got a more corrupt government. So they are not listening. They don't care that you're unhappy. They don't care. We have to get that through our heads. The change is going to happen within us, in our communities, and the way that we deal with each other. We need to prop each other up. We need to support each other and become one people, the way Roxy said. The idea, one of the reasons why I left Occupy Roanoke was one word that kept being thrown in my face. We have to back Obama because it's pragmatic. It's pragmatic to support the Democratic Party. No, it's not. It's business as usual, choosing the lesser of two evils, and I will not participate in that. That is why I have my own agenda, which is the people. I don't have a libertarian agenda. I don't have a Green Party agenda. I have an agenda to hopefully see other parties being coming into more power and influence. However, the idea that the Democrats or the Republicans is being pragmatic is a way of surrendering to the same old story, business as usual. And the idea of going to all these rallies and protests are nothing but a waste of energy to tire us out, as far as I'm concerned. Yes, I believe we need to speak up if we're angry, but let's find a more beneficial way that we can really, really get their attention. You want to get their attention? Stop buying their product. Stop buying their story. If a politician is endorsing Monsanto, like Obama, don't endorse them. Don't endorse Monsanto. Don't buy their products. If you don't like Walmart, don't buy their products. Don't go there. The moment you cut them off from their bloodline, which is money, that is how we are going to get them to shut down. Stop giving them our money. That's a protest.
And I agree partly with that, Bernard, as far as shut down their money. But they play, don't forget the casino example. They play with different money than you and I do.
Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of ways.
Well, they would get a bailout.
Exactly.
We stop giving them money, they'll take it from the taxes.
What about bail out the citizens? I mean, we've been through the slush and the grudge and the mud with all of this already. There was, what were they saying? If they gave each, it would have cost the government less if they gave each person in the United States $100,000 to bail every single citizen out of the hole that they were in because they drove the housing market down. But that's a story for another day. They're playing with a different house. They're playing with a different set of rules. They're playing with their own monopoly money and everything. So, that's where I tend to disagree. I think non-compliance would be the way. Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head. Can we get the community to play ball with one another? It's an uphill climb, because to get other people to grow their own produce and then do the exchanges, if you're not living on farms or a half acre or whatever, you're not going to get people in the tight, cities where most of the people dwell. You're not going to get city dwellers to flip that over or grow their own food when they're working 2 jobs and taking care of 4 kids. But protesting in the street, you're absolutely right. Occupy, I called that on Occupy. I said they'd either kill it in the first week, or that it would go on and on and on until it just wore occupiers in the streets out and it would just peter out. Mm-hmm. One or the other. And that's it. The latter ended up being what it was. And then, of course, the more people that you got involved in Occupy, it got so distorted. The action of the group itself, the intention, the motives got all convoluted as well. And people were lost on, what are we doing here? I think it was a good start. It was a good idea, but I don't think it developed into what it should have, and I think that was purposeful dissension on the elites part. I think that it was
Absolutely.
infiltrated and so forth. And your ideas about pragmatism and all the rest. I'm sorry, that is so yesterday. We need to catch up to speed, people. We need to realize something. And you're absolutely right about Egypt. They let millions of people come out into the streets, and Mubarak was taken down. And even Obama said, Mubarak, step down, as if he has any authority over Egypt. And they did, and the world was watching, and the global revolution kicked up a gear, and the dust started to, the clouds of dust started to hit all of us, and we were like, yay, it's happening, and Occupy kicked into the U.S., and this and that, and people, got out into the streets, and what happened? People, we need to have a different strategy. We need to strategize just like they do.
Yeah.
We need to strategize in a bubble and keep that to ourselves, just like they do. We need to work with one another, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know how long, and I didn't anticipate to say this whatsoever, but I've been thinking about it, and I've told Bernard on occasion, I don't know how long I'm going to be doing activism in this manner because of the amount of stupidity out there. I don't know. It's great when we reach people, and it's great when we get tons of emails of people who said you're educated, but they're not taking any stances either. They're not taking any measures. They're not doing anything either. You, the public, you're not really doing anything about it. You might be learning about it, but you're not doing anything about it. And if you only knew, I mean, Bernard works 85 hours a week. I work 7 days a week. We've given up. I'm not coming from a pity pot. I'm saying, I'm being realistic.
We want to see more Roxy's and more Bernards.
That's right. Because we certainly know how to teach others to do it. We certainly know what we're doing. And I've been involved all my life in activism, one way, shape, or form. And I love that you were so honest, Bernard, and said what changed over the last 2 years. And all that I see that has changed, I'm sorry, it's a bunch of garbage to say, we're winning. What? What are you winning? I want to know what you're winning. What did you win? And listen, if you want to write to me at info@thetruthDenied.com and tell me off, do it. Say something, people. If you want to write to me and tell me what you're winning, what changed, what got better for you, tell me, please. I want to hear about it, because what I see is a bullet train of New World Order garbage that has just become so transparent. It's bullied its way over the people. It doesn't care that you can see it. Why do you think the Bilderbergs have allowed in the last 5 years people to come and film? Because they're like, yeah,
right, exactly. What do we
and
care?
Bohemian Grove and all the rest of it, because they're like, you know what? They know they got it in the bag. They got it in the bag, people. And before you know it, all water rights, all everything. It's not ours anymore, and it's a big game. And the only way that I can see is what Barb Peterson from Farm Wars is doing on a daily basis: non-compliance, doing it herself, and not complying. And when I said to her, "Don't you ever get sick and tired of you've been doing this for so long, Barb? Are you ever going to give up?" And she said, "Hells no." She's never given up, because the more she learns and the more free her life becomes, and the more she does, she sees it in her own community in Oregon. She sees people that are begun to wake up.
Yeah, absolutely. Roxy, we got to start wrapping things up. I don't mean to cut you off.
No. But anyway, I don't mean to lecture or anything. And Bernard, I hope you don't
No, if
mind.
anything, you're being inspiring. I think you're being very inspiring.
I feel like I'm being an a-hole.
At least you don't sound like Rush Limbaugh, okay?
Oh, God.
No, but, if I can just throw my little 2 cents in before we wrap up about what you're saying, is that, one of the things that we can do as far as non-compliance, and I do see this, and I feel that, I think we're frozen again. You got to be kidding me. Anyway, oh no, I'm frozen, you're not. What I'm seeing and what I'm getting is that we are now changing the way that we act, and I think that's very important. I feel that the idea that we need to act like these psychopaths in power is what's been keeping us down. We have activists out there. We have media people, activist media people that are like yelling obscenities at the Bilderbergs and are mean to each other. I mean, we see it in the truth movement. We see it in a lot of the activist movement. Really just nasty behavior amongst ourselves. But I am very lucky, and I'm very happy to say that I've been seeing that change. I'm seeing people starting to deal in kindness, starting to act supportive of each other, and I think that is going to be the first step of uniting each other. When we start acting kind to each other, and we are, I'm seeing it, the more we act kind to each other, the more easier it's going to be for all of us to unite as a people, because we're going to be showing why we need to save humanity. The best of humanity, not the worst of it.
I think you're absolutely right, and I am seeing a lot of that as well. I'm seeing people even apologize to one another, whereas a year ago even, people just got all in their little egos, on Facebook or Twitter or what have you, and we're actually starting to see a little bit more camaraderie, because people are broken now. Yeah. People are actually starting to see that they've been working on certain things, for awareness campaigns, and it's not going anywhere for them. And I'll tell you what, I just gave the one side of, I don't know how long I'm going to be doing this, blah, blah, blah. I'll give you the other side. What keeps me going, seriously, what keeps me going on a daily basis are people like you, Bernard. When I say I'm quitting, you say, I understand.
Yeah.
When I tell my team that I'm quitting, one of my team members, and I need to give him a high five, Sean, out in New Orleans, he says, "No, you're not, babe." He gives me permission, but he says, "No, you're not, babe."
Right.
And then he offers, what more can he do to help? It's when we're having a bad day, a rough week, a rough month or whatever, right? Year. It can feel really bad and harsh for us, but at the same time, activism is hip. It's new. It's the new culture. It's part of the evolution of this planet. That is the way the planet's going. The planet is going to evolve. Humanity is going to evolve, whether you go kicking or streaming or not. Everything under the sun, literally, everything in the universe does one thing constantly, evolves. Yeah. So you can't stop our evolution. Our evolution is going to go with or without. I'm just saying, as an activist, I have to choose and pick my battles, and if my activism isn't really helping, then I want to change what I'm doing, and I want to enjoy my life at all times. So that's all I'm saying. I want to be able to switch gears whenever I want, and I know you do too, Bernard. Oh, gosh, I know you do.
Anyway, we're back for just a moment because we want to say goodbye to everybody. We want to thank you for being a part of our show today. You can find the archive on my YouTube channel and on Roxy's YouTube channel. In the next few days, we'll have the video edited and out for you without all these disconnections. But again, we hope we got you thinking. We hope it got you a little bit inspired. And if anything, some understanding of what's going on in the minds of people in power. Roxy, you got any few words you would like to say before we close up?
Just thank you so much for the ability to have these shows every last Thursday of the month. And, that's it. And thanks for all who do come and listen. And thanks for all of you who go on. And from now on YouTube, you might want to come live, because I'm going to start charging $25 per show on YouTube for these. No, I'm kidding.
I wish I could.
That would get more people live, wouldn't it? Anyway, no, we have lots of different things that we need to do, but we love you, and thank you so much. Mahalo for all who get it. We need you. Is humanity. I just want to see like one big happy family, and I have gotten to meet so many wonderful people in the last couple of years, so I can't say that I'm not grateful for that. And I'm a little bit on the grumpy side because I have a toothache, so excuse me. I'm going to the dentist tomorrow.
Well, we hope you still keep your fire.
Fire! I will always have my fire. Next time I'll bring in one of my Stratocasters, one of my guitars, and I'll show you what kind of fire I've got.
All right, everybody. So Roxy and I will see you next month, the last Thursday of the month. We love you guys. Thank you and goodbye.